Lildawg's Lildawg right here, right now. With magical eyes ready for Anguish and some taco bake. Delicious. Looks like we're going to head into another reasoning mode here in a minute, so I better prepare for what questions that's going to be. As a report at the ramen shop about the results of my investigation with Azuma, Pops informs me that Rim has obtained the photo of the fake Sojima. Check out the image file sent via email, but of course it shows someone I've never met before. Finding people isn't my thing anyway. It's best to leave it to the pros. My job is confronting the enemy on the front lines. One reason I'm involved in an investigation regardless is that I know it will help me out a lot when the time comes. And probably the other reason because of my personality or rather my tendency, which the people who come around me understand there's nothing they can do about. Sometimes my job requires prompt action. In case I can't answer my cell phone because of some trouble, I have my own extension line in my room. And the ringtone I'm hearing is that of the extension. Hello? Way to go, bro! Sounds like Jude speaking. It sounds like he's in such a good mood. What are you talking about? I'll keep it a secret from Aunt, but I'm telling Shizuku. Again, what are you talking about? You know what's weird? I think I've heard that voice somewhere before. Oh, hold on a sec, I'll switch now. I know what you're supposed to say at times like this. Take your time. After he hits me with a bunch of suggested words without explaining in the slightest what's going on, I hear him put his receiver back on. All I can manage to figure out is that he's relayed an outside call to me. Before I can think of anything else, a different sound comes out of the receiver. Seems like I'm connected now. Hello? I doubt Jude lets a sales call through. Hello? Is this Samakawa? Familiar voice calls out my name. It takes me a couple seconds to figure out who the owner of the voice is because I never would have imagined she would call me. Wait, Ogawa? I involuntarily shout loud enough to surprise myself. Yes, this is Ogawa. What the? Question marks fill my mind. I have no idea what she would call me for. To begin with, why didn't she call me on my cell phone? You sound so surprised. Sorry about that. Her voice sounds a little different through the phone and it makes my heart race. What's up? Mina Mikawa asked me to relay a message. The appearance of another friend's name also perplexes me even further, but the word messages help me recover my composure. I've got an idea what this message could be about. What I don't know is, how does Ogawa know and why she played the role of the messenger? He said he had no way to contact you and ended up reaching me via a lot of other people. Ah, I see. That makes perfect sense. Ogawa's the only one who knows my phone number and email address except for my coworkers. Which indirectly shows how much she means to me. But couldn't he have just asked you for my number? That's what I told him, but he insisted I had to do this because he owed you something. What? Are you two fighting? Mina Mikawa must have decided that getting her to call me would be a good way to pay me back a little. Actually, this is way beyond a little. I don't think that's what he meant. I'm sorry for the trouble. It's no trouble at all. Like I told you before the break, I've got nothing to do. Even so, I still feel sorry that both she and Mina Mikawa had to go through all this trouble. Why my home phone? She knows my home telephone number because I also sent it to her when we exchanged our cell numbers, but that's not the surprising part. What made her choose the home phone? Before the break started, you said you were going to be pretty busy. So I thought you might be at work and I didn't want to call to disturb you there. But when you're home, you shouldn't be that busy, right? How thoughtful, I'm impressed. Based on what she's heard from me so far, she must have figured out that my job occasionally puts me in an emergency. She's right about it. One phone call can lead to a crisis if I'm in the middle of fighting an unexpected battle or killing someone. Okay, thanks a bunch for being so considerate. Not a problem at all. I was able to hear you act surprised. I'm paying much more attention to her words than usual, even though this is such a casual conversation. Maybe because we are talking on the phone now? So can I give you the message? Sure. I'm gonna tell you exactly what Mina Macleod was said. Her calling. Alright. So everything broke. Like, during like the past, there's been like a 10-minute gap between the last part and this part, mostly because the recording software broke. I've closed a few things out. I've closed out Discord, I've closed out Steam, I've made sure they're closed out. Let me get my files closed out. There we go. Alright. We should be good to go, and her calling me is so unusual I forgot the original reason. There's something I remembered about the owner of the knick-knack shop. I couldn't remember right away because it happened outside the shop. About a month ago, I saw him and another man arguing heatedly on the street near the shop. The other man looked young, and it was the owner who was louder. If I recall right, the young man was in a suit, slim, and taller than the owner. And that's it. Thanks. Since Mina Macleod considers this worth sharing with me, the verbal battle must have been furious enough for him to suspect it had something to do with the burglary in the shop. If the shop owner turns out to be more than a victim, this information could be important. Of course, it might have been just a regular argument. On the other end of the line, Ogawa is waiting silently for my reply. By the way, it feels really bizarre to hear about the case through her familiar voice. If it were someone else, I wouldn't have gotten a feeling this complicated. I did tell Mina Macleod that my job wasn't anything to keep a secret, so there shouldn't be no problem with the fact that he handed Ogawa the message to pass it along to me, but I still don't want her to know everything about what I do. I have to say something to not let it happen, but nothing comes to my mind. Not a single part of Mina Macleod's message sounds like something that ordinary high schoolers would talk about. Something that the police or private detectives might discuss. You know, look, Macleod. As I open my mouth to start talking, she breaks in. I get nervous, wondering if she's going to ask me for details. Told you what Mina Macleod wanted me to tell you. I'll forget everything about it and won't ask you anything about it. This might sound a little weird, but you don't need to be worried about this. I'm speechless for a moment, as if she reads my mind. Well, how should I put this? I've noticed that Ogawa's really considerate of me, but I think I need to revise that observation. She goes way beyond just being considerate. It's just like magic. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I remind myself of something that I've thought many times. I can talk comfortably with her even though I'm very hesitant about letting her know everything about what I do. It's not just because I think she's a good match or something more. It's also because of her consideration, intelligence, and kindness. No, none of those words can describe it right. It's something even deeper and broader. Can I expect you two to make up for this later? Of course. I'll throw myself at your feet. I answered the way I would at school because I thought that what she would wanted. By the way, you can still sign up for my Golden Week plans. Okay, I promise I do something for you in return, even if I can't make it during Golden Week. I heard her shout yay in glee. Finally! I wonder if she realized that it wasn't out of politeness or anything, but that I really meant it. Well, congrats for her, but I feel like something terrible is going to happen because this is a horror visual novel. Or part horror. Various everyday noises filter quietly through the swaying curtains. Car engines humming afar, or the voices of playing children. I'm just looking out the window at the evening sky and clouds. This unusually helps me concentrate, but it doesn't seem to be working today. As an investigation grows longer, I always become more like this. It's getting harder to resist what seems to be a compulsion in my mind. This actually helps me a lot when it comes to fighting against variants, but now it's too early to let it out of me. I'm going to go ahead and save just in case this is, reasoning mode. The most appropriate time for me to do things my way is when I find my target. Reasoning mode! Call it! I knew we were going to experience one this episode. More people have found... First off, the shop owner's cousin. But those close to the doll owners. shop owner's cousin? Who's the true identity of the man who introduced himself as Sojima? Someone disguised as Sojima. Sojima has been missing for 5 years. Why do they suspect a crime? A left-behind stole. And what is Minamikawa's recalled about the doll in the knick-knack shop? The owner and a man arguing. Boom! Victory! Heck yeah! A lot of new clues have come to light today. Some of them seem useful for my eventual confrontation with the culprit. Alright. I'm gonna head back to the title, and I'm gonna view some of the new materials. Let's see what we have. Material. Alright, so we did get a few new things. Nadashidu. Did we get any new graphics? Nope, these are the same as usual. The freaking arm. I can't believe that's an actual graphic. Alright. Well, that's pretty cool. We got it. We aced that one pretty nicely. A lot of new clues have come to light today. Some of them seem useful for my eventual confrontation with the culprit. The most noteworthy among them is that at least one lock was left unlocked in the house of every missing person, including Sojima. It's hard to think that a variant would take a roundabout approach and bother to open a window to get in. The expert on material variants also mentioned that. To grant their desires, the variants must take the most straightforward move according to their instincts. If one of them faces a window, it'll break through without a care for the traces it leaves behind. Therefore, if all the abductions were done indoors, the abductor was at least intelligent enough to be concerned about it. And that reminds me of Nanashi saying, "This smells human." Is there a human being behind all this? If that's the case, the most suspicious one would be... Has he already figured it out and I just haven't? S-rank scenario number 3, Nanashi. Cool. We've viewed all of these so far. One whole day has passed since then. For over 24 hours, Nanashi has been using every conceivable means and connection at his disposal to acquire a certain photograph in order to ascertain the validity of his theory. He hasn't slept a wink, but he doesn't feel tired in the least. He understands that even if he tried to sleep, he would immediately see her figure behind his closed eyelids and jump to his feet. He is more motivated about identifying the doll in question than anyone else involved in the case. Plenty of people went missing, and they were all close to the doll. The doll created by that distinguished doll artist. Material variant or not, Nanashi has been crazy about her since the moment he saw that picture. Why she was born, what her existence means, what involvement she has with this case. He simply has to know. He has no interest whatever in preventing any more people from falling victim. Wow! Jerk! That's why I like Nanashi. His passion and knowledge are overwhelming enough to easily overcome the several decades that the doll has existed. Nanashi already has the doll's creator figured out. He was an artist known for his breathtaking skill, who shined brightest between the Taisho era and the early Showa era. Few outside of the art world knew of him, but he is highly respected in certain circles. The industry's assessment of him was polarized because of feature unique to his works. Nanashi's theory is about how that particular feature has to do with the case going on right now. The piece of paper in his hand is the very evidence to prove his theory is correct. This is it for sure, but who cares? The instant he sees what's printed on the paper, his mind starts shaking so violently he almost chokes off. He is amazed at how wonderful that doll is. The paper is a copy of the photograph taken by the nameless owner around 40 years back. What it shows is that the doll looks a couple inches shorter than she is today. Interesting. So the doll grew. The woman is desperately struggling to figure out how she ended up in this situation. After work, she went for a drink with a friend of hers but no matter how much she tries, it's a waste of effort. There is no direct relationship between her and that. They haven't even met each other before. This has to be a dream. She keeps telling herself that. How could it possibly be otherwise? A woman is being chased by a girl in a kimono in the dead of night. No, she is already aware that it is not a human girl. It is something that wears the form of a human girl. That something's after her, armed with an axe almost as long as it is tall. There's no way this is real. How could anyone blame her for trying to apply common sense to the situation? Run, Forrest, run! This is just a nightmare. A part of the woman even starts to think she should just stop running, believing that even if that thing catches and frightens her to death, she'll wake up right after. The other part of her, however, firmly rejects that proposal. Is this really a dream? The pain and moisture she's feeling spreading around her back. Are these things also imaginary? Torn between dream and reality, she gathers all her strength into her legs to keep fleeing from her pursuer. Every time she attempts to head somewhere where more people are around, that thing runs around and cuts her off, shepherding her toward a less populated area. It acts just like a cunning predator. Perhaps help would appear if she screamed, but she's out of breath and her throat is paralyzed with fear. She considers rushing into a store or home, but if she gets held up by a locked door, she'll be caught in a heartbeat, which means she just has to keep running to begin with. There's no way that she can figure out how to deal with that thing when she has no idea what it really is. She's only been running for a few minutes, but feels like an eternity. Her legs have reached their limit. She can't possibly continue to run, not with ill-fitting shoes and her lack of stamina. And on top of that, she's bleeding from a long cut on her back, even though it's only skin deep. Almost having lost her balance and collapsed a dozen times, she barely manages to keep running. She doesn't care anymore if this is a dream or reality. She now foresees how, in the very near future, both of her legs will give up on going forward, and her lifeblood will stop throwing her through her veins. But the moment when she has set her teeth, oh dear, what a most unfortunate day. A voice comes out of the darkness right before the woman. Astounded, she almost trips. However, her shoulder is caught by a large, burly hand. Woo! Here comes your savior! Not only a mock battle, but even a real fight. She's too surprised to scream. That is no wonder, because there was no one else around her until a couple seconds ago. There's no bushes or such nearby where he could have hid himself. From her point of view, he literally came out of nowhere. Although the street has good visibility, the man's voice came from right in front of her, and he even caught her while she was falling. She should have been able to see him much sooner, but she didn't notice him until he caught her when she stumbled. Was she too panicked to notice him, or did he actually teleport from somewhere else, utterly forgetting about the threat approaching from behind? She was absorbed thinking about the sudden appearance of the man. Young lady, you could just go ahead without looking back and... Oh well, forgot what I just said. Would you at least stay put right there? Looking over her shoulder, her blood once again runs cold thinking about the situation she's in. Ironically, the man's holding up her shoulders convinces her that this is reality. That the disturbing sound, like an embodied nightmare, that thing is drawing closer to the man and woman. Alright. She gives up all hope, predicting the two of them will both be engulfed by the nightmare, but the next thing she sees is the thing pausing at a point a couple meters from where the man is standing, as though watching him warily. Seems they have at least the intelligence of a beast. The woman still can't decide whether this man in a suit is on her side or not. Her instincts tell her that he shares the same kind of aura as the thing chasing her. He's another resident of this nightmare. Just so you know, this would normally be outside my beat. Nonetheless, he doesn't appear dangerous to her. He doesn't exactly seem like a hero of justice, though, because he's acting like a little kid impatient for an upcoming party, despite being in this nightmare. But I want you to know this. My partner said this lady would probably be your next target. He lowers his line of sight from midair to the thing for the first time. His partner? I'm that thing's next target? Those unexpected words puzzled the woman. You know how lucky you are? This is Suzanari and Curry's territory, and they're both ever so skilled members of the Disobeyers. You've got a much better chance of winning against me than against those two. Even though she's already bewildered by this absurd situation, he makes things more confusing by talking nonsense, and she still starts feeling irritated. She was really frightened. She ran for her life. Despite all that, she can't help but feel slighted now that they're ignoring her. And when she's about to demand they tell her who they are, it's the doll. Seeing the face of the thing under the moonlight, she swallows the words forming in her throat. She nearly succeeds, but she lets out a short squeak in her surprise. The face of the thing, even in the darkness of the night, looks white, bloodless, and beautiful. It could even be described as subtle and profound. Just as she guessed, it is not human. Her entire body goes limp and her blood runs cold. Doesn't matter whether the man is good or evil. She has to run away together with him. There's a monster right in front of them. She tries to call out for him, but he just jumbles her even worse. While she was paying attention to the grimness of the thing for less than a second, the man had vanished as though no one was there from the start, leaving her alone on the dark street. She's terrified that there's nothing between her and the thing. Whichever direction she looks, all she can find is that thing and herself. Although she tries to get to her feet and run, she suddenly remembers him telling her to stay still. The reason she's able to hold herself back from the compulsion to escape is not because she has taken everything he said on faith, but because she instinctively knows he's still around. She neither sensed him leave nor heard a footstep, and what she convinces her the most is the fact that thing remains motionless as when he was still in her sight, which means her senses understands the truth while her reason tells her otherwise. The unimaginable truth of the man's current location after he disappeared. I must say, you indeed deserve my protection, young lady. Compliment can be heard out of the empty air. If that thing were human, it probably would scream. It would probably scream because the source of the voice suddenly appears. In front of it, barely 1 meter away, neither from her side nor behind her. The thing thrust itself back, looking incredibly upset. The move it weighs is so nimble, so sharp, it seems not to respect the rules of reality. Speed is not bad, but charging parallel to the thing, the man throws a right hook that hits its head with a dull sound. Nothing like human variants or animal variants, it's realistic solidity. Maybe hardwood? No, that's not it. Even though the woman is watching him move from up close, she cannot understand any of what he is doing. This must be a huge puzzle to the thing, at least if it has enough intelligence to be puzzled. The thing takes its first move in the second round. With incredible speed, it slides itself forward, making a wavy curved sound on the road. And then its deadly weapon plays an indescribably disturbing sound as it scrapes against the asphalt. Since the woman is only a few meters away from the battlefield, she can see how the thing gets around behind the man in a moment. But from his position, she wouldn't even have been able to follow its motions with her eyes or body. She intrusively decides she must do something to help him, but tries to squeeze out the roots behind her, but her throat still isn't working properly. Worry not! He must have realized that she was struggling to muster the courage to assist him. He shows her a content smile, mouthing a word of thanks. An incredibly fast swing by the thing is coming from right behind the man's back, a complete blind spot for him. The moment when the attack no ordinary man would be able to evade, he's about to crash in the back of his head. BAM! Leaning toward the enemy, he takes a sudden step back with all his weight. The effect is like a hammer blow. The shockwave resonates around him with a roar. The thing's body is blown back several meters as if it had been hit by a car. The impact seems to have been so strong that the thing and its weapon slide and roll on the road before coming to a stop. After a few seconds of the roaring sound, utter silence reigns over the street, and the quiet has been broken by the man's voice, which still remains out of place and devoid of tension. The stiffness and speed are way better than I assumed, but the bigger trouble is... A creaking sound cuts his words off as the thing jumps up overhead. The way it lifts itself violates the laws of physics. Its jump carries it more than 3 meters into the air. As long as you are a human, you have to go through a certain procedure to recover your footing. You put your hand and feet on the ground, twist your body to sit up and stand up, but none of that is applied to that thing. It was, after all, not human. Oh, this is something. The man doesn't even let that unexpected action lower his guard. Having at once calculated where the thing is going to land as the result of its leap, it decides the best position and timing to punch through its body. He then takes a small step backwards. He has widened the distance between him and the thing in order to give his next attack a boost with his weight. He is aiming for its chin, which is thought to be structurally fragile. The thing, on the other hand, going to swing its weapon down. That will no doubt be an overwhelming lethal slash, but it's predictable. This exchange of attack is therefore supposed to turn out the same way as the previous one, but the man's blow has landed. His fist tells him that he has delivered a critical hit. If the recipient were a person, he would 100% be out cold. Of course, the man understands he's facing something different from human. Still, he is confident that he was able to, if not finish it off, at least drive it away. There we go. But he is proven wrong. Even though his blow bent the thing's upper body backwards, it holds its weapon parallel with the ground and swings with all its might. The high-velocity horizontal slash splits the air. The man's blow did inflict the damage that he had meant to deal. If the thing forces itself any further forward, its neck will most likely be broken from the centrifugal force generated by the slash. A living being with a sense of pain would instinctively take action to avoid damage. Even the monster before him shouldn't do anything that would hurt itself more. That's the miscalculation that the man made as a result of believing that thing possessed the same structure and senses the human race does. Even though I knew its identity, I think I got fooled by how it looked. The thing feels no sense of pain. It is actually a fatal flaw if you think about why it exists. Look how rusty I am. The man has a shallow cut on his stomach, leaving his suit jacket and dress shirt stained with blood. I keep being taken by appearances. I still have a long way to go. Without paying any attention to his own wound, he amusedly laughs over the fact nothing went as he planned. Why would he laugh when he didn't get what he wanted? Because that's why he is, no more, no less. Still. I see. That didn't work for you at all either, huh? He's about to straighten up his collar to announce the end of the combat, but instead an ecstatic grin spreads on his face when he learns that the dog can still keep going. Well, my apologies, young lady. Stay put a little longer, would you? She was spaced out, watching the fantastical scene in front of her, but his energetic and low-key voice startles her. Her wild eye stares at the thing as it gets to its feet, without looking damaged. That makes the woman once again think of him as a resident of this nightmare. He and the thing stare at each other with the distance between them coincidentally almost as wide as when the battle began. The difference is that they exchange several blows. Nobody but themselves knows which one of them is at an advantage now. I knew it, that's it, no mistake. He shuffles forward to get close to the thing, though it's not because he has the advantage. All the techniques he knows are for close combat, so fighting from medium range isn't an option from him. As a result, he is now in the range of the thing's lethal weapon. His life could be snuffed out at any moment by a single swing. In spite of that, he walks forward with a rapturous smile on his face. In this extremely tense situation where one wrong move will lead to death, ha ha. This is how combat is supposed to be. He bursts into laughter, feeling irresistible happiness. I think I'm gonna end this one there. That was awesome. That was a pretty cool fight, and I enjoyed all of that. Holy crap. Well, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.